Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Tech, Bugs and Rock and Roll, the weekly ramblecast about what's happening in tech and bugs and rock and roll and whatever other interesting and fun things have been happening this week. It's
been quite a lot, actually.
It is quite a lot. Well, a week is a surprisingly long time when this much stuff is happening.
Yeah.
I do occasionally have. I was thinking the other day about the like being on school holidays, because being a non-parent person, I'm blissfully unaware of school holidays, apart from sometimes I go to the airport and I go, what the hell is wrong with this place? There are tiny people everywhere. And then I'm like, oh, I accidentally went on holiday at the same time as parents can. Oh, yeah. This year, by coincidence than design, but quite a nice coincidence, I will not be setting foot in an airport until all the children are back at school. Which is kind of good. And, they're welcome to enjoy their massively overpriced holidays and hotels and everything. And then when they're all back at school, I can go back and do my thing when it's cheap. But, yes, I was thinking about like school holidays when I was a kid. And the days when nothing happened. Like, I was thinking about like being at my folks' place in the family home in Zimbabwe when I was, 7 or 8 years old. And literally, like, there was, for a lot of my childhood, we didn't have a TV, and I never listened to the radio, and I didn't read the newspaper. So I would go through entire days without any new information entering my life, other than like what I could discover by poking around the garden and reading my parents' bookshelves.
God, I wish that were me right now. I know I could do this by turning off the internet, but
yeah, like imagine that. Imagine like going to bed one day knowing the same stuff you knew when you woke up and nothing else.
Yep.
Having, learned absolutely nothing. Like all you did that day was you ate food you'd eaten before and maybe read a book that you'd already read and walked around your garden a bit and rode your bike, and then you're like, all right, that was fine. Yeah.
Having a job kind of precludes that. A lot of the things I learned today and things I did today have been in the course of employment.
Yeah.
Because I distinctly remember when I was a kid, and I'm talking about the sort of late 70s and early 80s.
Yep.
And in the early 80s, I lived in the country, and your parents would kick you out of the house first thing in the morning, and you'd come back and have a sandwich for lunch. But we were just roaming through forests, ditch jumping, which is a fun pastime when you're a rural kid.
Your bones heal easily,
They do.
Yeah.
One time at the age of, I think I was 11, riding my mate Adam's moped. Adam had a moped because he lived on a farm.
Yeah.
He was 15. But we would go and ride it on the road. And my stepfather drove like a minibus for the hospital, the local kind of Benenden Chest Hospital. And we saw one of these vans, and I was on the moped and saw this van just along the top of the hedge, about to turn around the corner. And so I just steered the moped into a ditch and landed underneath it. And then Adam was just pissing himself laughing and going, "It wasn't even your dad." But yeah, and I feel kind of sad for most kids these days, especially, where they just won't get that because everything's so much more like surveilled and controlled, and they're lucky if they're allowed to just go and roam the countryside at all.
There was a study about, I think it's in the States, about the sort of roaming area of a teenager in 1950 and then 20 years ago and then now, and how it's just completely shrunk.
Really shrunk. Yeah.
I think they use some of the same technology that they do for like tracking birds and like bats.
They did that documentary with cats. By the way, if you're wondering why who wants to see a magic trick? Watch this. Ah! Oh my god! Look at that! Yes.
They rehearsed that for like literally hours before the show.
We've done today. Yeah, I haven't done this like my day job. Yeah.
We're not telling you.
Let me show you what's actually going on.
Hello.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. People are the streams.
Co-working places, they're all the rage.
Yeah.
But no, the other thing, when I was like 7, 8, 9, 6 weeks summer holiday felt like 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it would get to kind of the end of August, and you'd be going, oh, back to school on Monday, because we didn't have inset days then either. So you started back at school on the Monday. And you were just kind of like, I've forgotten what it's like. I'm not sure I even know how to school anymore.
Yeah.
It was just, and there were the mates that you'd kind of like hang out with during the summer holidays anyway. You kind of like little social group. And then 28 other kids in your class.
Yeah.
Who you hadn't seen for what felt like 6 months. And especially at that age, you'd come back and like one of them's got a beard and one of them's talking like Barry White. And and now the kids break up. I have 2 kids. I mean, Willow University now. And so they get like whatever it is, 6 months. They actually get 6 months off, feels like. And the other one, private school. So they get 8 week summer holidays. Because when you pay, they get less education, apparently. But
that's how it works.
It's better.
Yeah. I'm smarter now because I did less school.
It's kind of like that. He has 8 weeks and they break up. And then it feels like sort of no time at all has passed. And we're shopping for new clothes for the new term because he's grown out of all his previous year clothes. And it just shoots by. Bizarre.
Did you have that thing at school? I had there were the friends that I would hang out with at school, and then other friends I would hang out with the weekends and on holidays, who were the ones who lived near me, who went to the same school as me, but they weren't in the same year. And it was really strange because like you would walk to the bus together and get the bus together, but then like as soon as you got into through the school gates, you would kind of context switch. Weird.
But, I mean that was the thing with this guy Adam. We didn't actually call him Adam. We called him Speed. I think because he asked us to.
That worked?
It did, yeah. He was brilliant. I loved him. I would help him on his farm, and I got to drive a JCB again at the age of 11 to clean out pigstyes and stuff. But he was obviously at the same school as me, but I was like in the first year, and then a little bit of the second year, and then I left. But he was doing his GCSEs, just started his GCSE, and he was like an art student type. But every now and then, if I was having issues with bullying, I would just let him know who was bullying me, and they would have like 3 or 4 fourth formers, because he had quite big mates as well, would just kind of like take them off. Have you seen that episode of Taskmaster where James Acaster? So it's one of my favorite things. You know how big Greg Davis is, like 6'9" or something, and
absurdly tall,
200 pounds. And James Acaster is sort of built a little bit more like me. And they do the thing at the start, the prize task, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but somebody gave Greg this little wooden puzzle box thing that's like difficult to open. And he kind of turned it over in his fingers twice. And then James Acaster just goes, "Oh, just open it, you pussy." And Greg kind of like takes him off to the back of the set with his arm round his shoulder and just goes, "There was no need for that, was there?" And that's kind of how I imagine these bullies being dealt with by my friend Speed and his big move. So yes, I didn't get bullied for very long. It was good.
I googled how tall is Greg Davis. Davies or Davis? I don't. How does he pronounce it?
I think it's Davis.
Davis. And the top hit was just a Google summary that said Greg Davis is so tall he is technically disabled. And
yes,
I've known someone who had that as well, where it's like
thing that could happen.
Yes.
Yeah, at university he couldn't have like beds that fit him. You have to go and like get accommodated by having an extra long bed and stuff.
Yeah. My bass teacher, who you have met, is in that range as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of technically disabled in that you are you get the special dispensations in like certain environments, like seating, airlines, because you don't fit in economy, so you have a kind of, you can ask for bulkhead or aisle without having the exit aisle thing, without having to pay the extra and all that sort of stuff.
There was I did a fantastic course many years ago about designing for accessibility for the web and various other kind of business compliance things, and introduced me to something called the social model of disability, which is the idea that nobody is inherently disabled until you disable them by putting a flight of stairs in the way or something. And it kind of doesn't matter who you are. At some point, your environment can disable you with regards
That's absolutely true. I will say I physically can't do things. There are things I physically can't do. And that's true regardless whether or not, society can make it as easy as possible for me. But like, if I have to run somewhere to like catch a bus, whatever, there's going to be physical consequences to that that you can't social away. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. But no, I quite like the idea, and the one time when it ever comes up is when you go to a restaurant or something, and the lavatory that you would ordinarily use is unavailable. So you're like, well, I have been disabled by unavailability, therefore I'm going to use the disabled one, and it's fine. And no, it's an interesting kind. I never thought about it from that perspective before.
Great comments in the chat, by the way. So yeah, certainly, if I could drive someone's JCB at 11, I would call them what they wanted me to. Yeah, absolutely. When you've got a farm with pigs on it and 2 tractors and a JCB and a moped that you're happy to let people crash into ditches, yeah, you call them what they want you to call them. And then Hannes, so for your bass teacher, a bass looks like a normal guitar on me. Yeah, pretty much. It's one of those ones where he's kind of like, when I was first starting and hadn't got sort of quite the hang of moving my hand up and down the fretboard, and he would just do these stretchy things. He could do like 1 and 5, so index on the 1st fret and other one on the 5th. And I was just going, yeah, I can't do that.
Pointed out, absolutely right. They're not disabled toilets; they're accessible toilets. My bad.
Yes.
The social model.
I qualify. I could pay £5 and get one of the radar keys that gets you into the accessible toilets because autism counts.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard a point from somebody who was talking about they need the accessible toilets for various reasons, but they often they have some back problems, and often the sinks in accessible toilets are lower, because they're designed with it to be accessible to people who are wheelchair users and are therefore going to be lower height.
Yeah.
But that makes those sinks inaccessible for somebody like this friend of mine who was talking about it.
Or Greg Davis.
For whom to go to the level of what that sink is really difficult or impossible. Yeah. And it's the solution is easy, 2 sinks. But
Yeah.
I saw a thing at a music festival once, which was it was both incredibly ingenious and unbelievably disgusting. The gentleman's facilities were a sloping metal trough, just a big, long, sloping metal trough with water running into it at one end. So you would wash your hands in the water at the high end, and then the water would run through all of the cubicles underneath the seats, and then the trough at the other end was the urinal, and then it would all drain away into a sort of hole at the end.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I don't like that.
It was just like, that's both very elegant, because it must be so easy to set up, and also absolutely disgusting. But
it's
not
a very
the most
engineer brain solution,
toilet I've ever seen. Probably not even in the top 10.
Yeah.
So anyway, segueing smoothly on the topic of accessibility and being able to do things, I went to sign up for DeepSeek earlier today because I watched Rendle's talk last night about how ChatGPT happened. And because I sort of have got to the point now where I have ChatGPT on one screen and I use it about as much as I use Kaggy. If I want to know a fact, I will search the internet. But if I want to know how to do a thing, or I want an explanation, oh, goody, Twitch spam. God, I love the internet. Is that mine or yours? We're going to get rid of the Twitch spam. And I went to sign up to
can you get rid of the Twitch spam, please?
My regular email address. And it said, oh, no, you can't do that because you don't have a globally recognized email address. You have to use Gmail or Outlook or Yahoo or similar. And I'm like, huh? I couldn't sign up to DeepSeek with dylanbeatty.net. It wouldn't send me the code because I don't know.
No, I can't think of any reason for that at all. No, hang on.
I can, because if you own your own domain, you can just make up as many email addresses as you want and keep getting free credits and everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea.
But it's the whole kind of, we can't be asked to police this, so we're just going to make it Google and Outlook's problem because they're gonna do the thing.
Yeah.
And then
Acceptable trade-off from their point of view, I
More,
suppose.
more seriously, though, and this Spotify, this is not promotional. This is just my experience and opinion recently. That chat LLM thing that I mentioned by Abacus AI, $10 a month.
Yep.
And DeepSeek is one of the things that it
Yeah.
uses, and it made at least one of the slides from that talk last night entirely by itself.
This is a thing where you give it a certain amount of money and it just gives you a chat window, and when it runs out of tokens, it bounces you onto the next provider and the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah.
So we ensure the rainforests are being burnt down evenly instead of burning down one forest completely and then starting on the next
it's
one.
like the Wear controller on a flash drive, right? Yeah.
I do try to use, so a lot of the time my first attempt will be LM Studio running on my Mac, which is using local engines.
Yeah.
And I can run a 14 billion parameter engine on my MacBook because it's got 36 gigs of shared memory, and they are completely GPU optimized. The really nice thing with LM Studio, because I've also got Olama, but that's command line and it's wiggly. But when you are when you're sort of listing through the different models on LM Studio, it shows you if it's going to be able to completely offload it to the GPU. Or sometimes it goes, yeah, no, it's got 38 layers and 36 of them can go on the GPU, but 2 of them will be on the CPU. So performance will be worse, but not so bad. And so I feel like when I'm doing that, considering that I can run one of those for 4 or 5 hours on my MacBook just on battery, before it starts to go, oh, the battery's thing's gone red. I'm probably not burning that much forest to do that. It's probably I might be sort of charring a rubber plant.
I think it's one of these things like when you take the impact multiplied by the number of people who use it, multiplied by the number of stupid places it's being shoehorned in where it doesn't need to be. But it's like the whole idea of social responsibility, or you've got to recycle your yogurt pots or you're going to kill the planet. I'm like, I don't think my yogurt pots are what's killing the planet, and I get it. And if everybody absolutely did but But
a rock star takes one trip in a private jet, and suddenly all of the yogurt pots that I've recycled in my entire life are wiped out. Right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean that's the thing. That friend of ours who stopped doing conferences because of the carbon footprint. And I thought about that, and I have, when I'm doing mainland Europe, I do tend to use the tunnel, which is obviously all electric, so it's less bad. The carbon emissions aren't so bad. It's probably mostly nuclear in France and Germany and places. But thinking about not taking the flight, and I'm just like, but all the planes are still going to fly to all the places, whether I'm on them or not. And so, it's that old thing of one person can't make a difference. And it would take literally, like, I mean, what are we talking? 3 or 4 billion people who are the bulk of the problem. And they would all have to modify their behavior for it to actually have an impact, which is why you kind of go, well, it's the responsibility of the corporate world and the capitalists, sadly, to do something about it. And they have no interest in doing that because it doesn't increase their bottom line.
They're acting rationally within the system that we have.
Yeah, they care that their revenue goes up from this year to next year. They don't care.
And that NVIDIA keeps selling GPUs.
And that NVIDIA keeps selling GPUs. So,
good old NVIDIA GPU, so I'm definitely part of the problem.
Yeah, no, I've got AMD
you're helping prop
Apple.
Up,
so
you're helping prop up the US economy by so doing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's good. They can thank me afterwards. So
but no, London.net last night was brilliant.
Cool.
I was very happy with how my first run talk came out. It needs trimming a bit because you sent me the video and it's 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Yep.
but I thought it went very well.
So the one thing I'm going to give you your feedback live on the stream because it's interesting and I want to talk about it. The one part where I thought you could have done something significantly better was to create or find a good visualization for how a convolutional neural network recognizes handwritten numbers.
Yes.
Because that's something that you can actually break down into something, step by step or animated. So you can actually see the things happening. And I nearly said, I can do that because I know how to do video post-production and stuff. And then I remembered how busy I am between now and when you're doing that talk and decided to unvolunteer myself from creating a convolutional neural network visualizer. Yeah.
What if I kind of came up, slept on your sofa, we go to Horniman's and look at the dinosaurs.
And the fat walrus.
And you can give me a very quick kind of like, here's the rough idea of how you do this in After Effects. Willow has an After Effects student subscription now because they use it for the theatre stuff. And so I can go, I am my offspring. And you can kind of go, look, this is the basics, and then I can figure it out from there.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
Also, we get to go and see dinosaurs.
And that, yes.
Yeah.
I've like how when you come up to sleep on, say, on my sofa and we've worked on our talk.
Oh, yeah, so much. So much work done on our talk. Although we have come up with the Dr. Bunsen and Beaker idea. So I'm going to be Beaker, and I'm just going to answer questions by going, me, 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 me.
And I have professor glasses.
And yes, Eli has their professor glasses.
Prescription.
Nice.
We did used to, you remember we used to do the JavaScript quiz at the events at CodeNode?
Yes.
That would generally, like the day before, we'd pile into somebody's office after work and just write as much dumb JavaScript as we could think of.
That was fun. But no, the other, so David's new talk, David Whitney did a new talk as well. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed that. It was like deep and philosophical, and he's obviously been thinking about that stuff a lot. It's I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that again after he's taken it off and polished it and everything. But no, that was really good. But also I just want to shout out Accurex, because that is how you host a user group. So much pizza, and nice pizza as well, not like Pizza Hut pizza, or Papa John's, I think is probably the worst one I've ever used.
So that part of
and that room is brilliant. It's just a really, really nice space.
So actually, let's do a proper plug. So Accurex, ACCURX, are in Curtin Road in Shoreditch in East London, which is a very nice place and very easy to get to. And they are currently trying to hire something like 50 engineers on .NET and React. And they build communication systems for healthcare. Yes. So if you're in the UK and you've got a text message reminding you about a GP appointment or something, that's probably their stuff that did that. And, I something I'm always very interested in is how many hops do you have to go to get from a real person to what that company's tech actually does. And, with companies that are like it's very, very easy to see the connection between the work that those engineers are doing. And, I used to, it's a model I've been kicking around for a while that is probably going to make it into the talk I'm writing for NDC Porto later this year, is because it used to be like, let's take a person who's happy and see how many steps removed your job is from the happy person. And, some people, like, you can't. There is no connection because the motivating factor is a chief executive with a dopamine-fueled addiction to watching line go up. And actually,
that's a happy person, right?
No, that's not a happy person. That's a psychopath.
Yes,
it's not the same. And it's
capable of experiencing happiness.
Well, you can start with like, well, what do you do? Well, we make games, and people play the games because they're fun. And then you're like, we make games which have like paid content in them, and they're like, we just literally make gambling. Like we make video poker systems, and we build online stuff that people get addicted to. And it's like, are you still making people genuinely happy, or are you just kind of fueling a dependency? And then you're like, how many of you work in a financial technology company? Yeah, what do you do? You
Yeah.
make line go up. You're fueling a dependency, is what you're doing. But then it occurred to me that doing it purely on a making people happy misses the whole aspect of let's look at people who would hitherto have been unhappy because they forgot they had an appointment, or because they got lost, or because they didn't know what time the bus was. And all these kinds of things. And it's one of those sort of, it's not a big idea, but it's one that has sort of been having the corners kicked off it for 3 or 4 years now.
Hmm.
And,
How many steps removed are you from having made someone's life better?
Yeah. And that's that. I mean, AccuRx has a whole wall covered with quotes from really happy customers, whether it's that they've been engaging with support or just that the service has made their lives better.
I think, Stephen, just one comment of the year for psychopaths deserve to be happy too. Genuine neurological and moral privilege.
I have no neurological privilege. I'm neurospicy as fuck.
I have a system for my socks. Apparently, that's one of the indicators that someone might be slightly on the sort of neurodivergent thing. Is you don't lose your socks because you have a system for them. And my system is all of my socks are identical, and I buy 20 identical socks every year. A cat is about to walk between the frames, and it's
Here's Gothmog.
Hello, Gothmog.
Clawing me in the throat. There we go.
So, but yes, AccuRx, really cool company, and they're great.
And it really looks like a nice place to work as well. It's like they feed you and they water you, and there's a pool table, and
so it's in person or hybrid or remote.
It's I don't know what their thing is. I suspect it's probably hybrid.
Most of them were, I think, in the office 3 days a week.
Like if they've got a nice office, you're going to want people to be in it.
It's one of those places. If I had the option of working at home or going into that office, I would probably go into the office a fair bit, just voluntarily, because it's a nice space. And it's Shoreditch, which is also a nice area.
Yeah. Marie says, I can never get quite exactly the same model of socks between batches, and I can't bring myself to throw out the old ones. No. So the secret one is
within batches only.
You need to neuro program yourself to be tolerant of the difference between the batches. And then 2, when you get a new batch, you need to get them thoroughly mixed in with the old batch as quickly as possible. So you can't tell which ones are the new socks and which ones are the old socks. There are just the socks. And if when a sock has a hole in it, it goes out immediately with no ceremony. Just that one's finished now. And once in a while, you go and buy a bunch more. And
so I bought 2 5-packs of identical white sports socks from Amazon, and I thought, there you go, that'll do it. That'll probably in a year that'll be 7 pairs of socks, and 2 years it'll be 4 pairs of socks. But I can live with that. They turned up. And
were they different?
They are perfect. So they have an L on one of them and an R on the other one. And I think that was about 2 years ago. Guess what I now have?
All left.
I have 9 left socks.
So I make my own socks. I haven't made that many, but one of the things that I do is asymmetrical toes because they fit better. So I do actually have left and right socks.
So and then I buy sort of large packs of socks that are basically black, but they all have a little bit of color. Each pair in the 5-pack has different color, and I never have any hope of actually being able to get 2 with the same color. Fortunately, the color is inside the shoe.
Oh, I wear mismatched socks all the time, as long as they're from within the same set, so that they have the same fiber content and texture. We're just not looking.
Anybody who tuned into the show today expecting to hear deep insight into software architecture and developer culture. Hello, we're talking about socks.
Yes. Could we use AI?
Knitting needles. So I do 2 circulars for socks.
Actually, if you covered
circulars for small ones, so
if you covered every square inch of your home with cameras and had an AI constantly watching, then theoretically, if Dario, what's his name, Mobius from Anthropic's Machines of Loving Grace thing comes true, you could get the AI to track your socks.
You have to know that in my headcanon, Dario, what's his name from Anthropic's Machines of Loving Grace, is a solo album by a guy from a spin-off band that never quite made it in the same league as Massive Attack.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
I was listening to Massive Attack last night.
Like he was the bassist in that band and then left to do a solo career, and everyone was like, Dario, no. No, you're not Geddy Lee or Victor Wooten.
So I do actually want to talk about something that has sort of technological and sociological implications, because I logged into Blue Sky this morning because I like Blue Sky, and it popped up a thing going, you need to prove your age if you want to do certain stuff anymore, because this is the law in the United Kingdom now, is that any digital platform that makes adult content available, and this is not like, Blue Sky is a wretched hive of scum and villainy. It's that they haven't taken the incredibly difficult and expensive steps to absolutely guarantee that their platform is completely devoid of profanity.
Any nudity at all. They classify all nudity as inherently sexual. So.
And Joel Morris, who is a fantastic writer and podcast host, did a podcast called The Rule of Three, all about comedy, was saying, we got a podcast that we don't censor people's language. People will use profanity on it, which means legally speaking, our podcast is now adult content, which means legally in the UK now, any platform that hosts our podcast has to have a recognition system in place. Yeah. And, and this is going on. And at the same time, there's been a campaign, itch.io.
Yeah.
And they've only got like 25 employees or something. It's not Itch's fault. Like they have no leverage when it comes to MasterCard. Yeah. But people are obviously getting mad at them rather than MasterCard because it's easier.
Yeah. And they've had to pull a bunch of content from their platform because of a pressure group that got onto Visa and MasterCard. Collective Shout, yes, who sound like a horrible bunch of joyless.
Really?
And here's the thing: some of us do enjoy wretched hives of scum and villainy, and we deserve to be able to do that too.
Yeah. Although I don't like that kid, and my friend doesn't like him either.
But I know it's kind of interesting, and of course it's absolutely trivial because it's only the UK. If you go on a VPN, it's like, oh, you're not in the UK now, so you can do anything you want. But I just had a curiosity. I went through the Blue Sky thing. I clicked the link, and it bounced me across. I put in my email address. It bounced me to a website where it used my webcam to take a picture of my face, calculated my age, didn't tell me how old it thought I was, but just sent me back to Blue Sky and went, well done, you're an adult now. And did some very conspicuous theater of acknowledging scan, analyzing age, deleting scan. And I'm like, no, you're not. Bullshit, you deleting scan.
No, you might be deleting it. They're not.
Yeah.
But no, this is, we have... so can I get permission just to do a very tiny few seconds of mentioning political parties?
Yes.
In a tech context?
Yes.
Because we are living with quite a lot of oppression on the tech side of things. And there's another news story that I saw this week. So the UK has passed a law saying that messaging providers, and by that they essentially mean Meta and Apple, have to be able to provide decrypted messages.
I think Signal as well, because there was something about Signal not operating within the UK if this goes through.
Signal have basically said, you'll have to access it through a VPN. We're looking at spinning up our own VPN that just Signal will use, using something like Headscale or something, I suppose. But Apple are kind of like, no. We're not doing this.
And the US government was like...
The US government has now weighed in.
Be like, you can't tell our companies what to do?
Yeah. Saying,
which is hilarious. Like, stopped clocks, right?
And I'm just like, normally you might be, how dare the government of a foreign country, particularly that particular one right now, tell our government what to do? But right now, I'm here for it. I am... Yeah.
The US government's very picky about which foreign governments it will allow to dictate its policy and what its companies do.
And we are not.
We're not
one
on
of
that
them.
list.
The EU is just about on there. Russia, obviously. Anyway, that's too much politics.
Yes,
Stop the politics.
Stop! Don't make me tap the sign. No, no.
I do have one really stupid politics thing to bring up, and you'll understand why I'm bringing it up. 2 politicians in the UK have started a new political party. They have not yet decided on its name because naming things is hard. But I went to their website to check it out. I'm probably not going to sign up. But do you want to know what I saw on the website of this political party?
Guess. It's Eli.
What?
Get a new font. There is more than one font in the world.
The Poppins
party uses Poppins as well. Can you not get a new font?
No, fonts is hard.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just the Canva default. Be original.
But the problem is, then you have.
So yeah, right, Michelle Frost was telling me that it's a one of the sort of starting options on Canva, and that's why it's everywhere apparently now.
Right.
So that's the answer to why Big Poppins is killing me. But
if anyone who knows any of us also either works for Canva or knows somebody who works for Canva, it would be really nice just for Eli's long-term mental health if Canva would just change the default font.
Yeah.
To anything else.
No. The problem is
the only available font.
The problem is not the font. The problem is the ubiquity of the font. If Canva changes their default a year from now, it'll be PT Sans. What Canva needs to do is give everyone a random default.
Yeah.
Like just psychometrically profile you based on how fast you type stuff and whether you paste your password in.
Joker at Canva.
Yeah.
Oh God, Joker.
Yeah.
And The Monka says, I'm convinced that the AI face recognition things are bullshit the way they're used right now. I have been buying alcohol in off licenses in the United Kingdom since I was 14 years old without photographic identification and mostly getting away with it. So, I get
carded every now and then. And it's just like, I'm buying asparagus as well. What? Trying to buy a bottle of whiskey and some asparagus.
Yes.
Oh no, that was my secret. Is I would always get something so incredibly mundane. Like I go into Tesco and I'd buy like 3 bottles of the cheapest vodka they had and some Ryvita. And they'd be like, obviously a teenager's not going to buy Ryvita because
Yeah.
So
I used to work on the checkouts in Safeway, and
so it was you selling Dylan all that booze.
Yeah. It was technically I was 15 or 16 at the time, and if somebody came through with alcohol, I was supposed to get a supervisor.
Yep.
But it wasn't actually, they didn't press a button, they didn't scan their card. There was no record that they'd done it. It was just technically, if they'd been watching at the time, they would have seen me selling Bacardi for some reason.
Bacardi was
the
champion.
K and Diamond White cider. Because when you're 15 or 16, the point of alcohol is to get drunk as quickly as possible before you go into the nightclub where they will card you.
Yeah.
So you get completely hammered by 11 o'clock and then go to Saturdays, which was the nightclub in Hastings where I lived. And
isn't that the one for anyone down twice?
Yes.
Yeah.
But for anyone who is into like electronic dance music and rave and all that sort of stuff, you will probably have heard of John Digweed, who was a big name, particularly in the kind of happy house, handbag, that sort of stuff in the 90s. And he was one of the resident DJs at the Renaissance parties. But in the 80s, at Saturday's nightclub, and it was what you would expect from a kind of decrepit seaside town that's probably going to fall into the sea, and it won't be a moment too soon. But yeah,
I like
and the DJ in there would do that thing of like, okay, first woman to get her bra up to my DJ booth gets a free bottle of champagne, by which he meant one of those individual bottles of baby sham, by the way. And that DJ was called DJ JD. And it was John Digweed. And I used to think that was like, you're not really, you used to be rubbish. But these days I look at it more as when you see these people who have achieved success, they all came up the hard way, one way or well, okay, there are the Nepo kids, but the majority of people came up the hard way and have had to do some appalling gigs and promotional stuff and whatever else along the way. It's like Mickey Flanagan, who now sells out the O2 Arena for 3 nights on the trot, was doing open spots at the same time as me. And actually, I got to paid gigs way before he did.
Yeah.
But then I quit because I couldn't stick it. And that was in 2001. And I think it was 2020 was the first time or 2019 was the first time I saw Mickey Flanagan at the O2. And I was just like, oh my God.
I got to say, with all due respect to the craft of comedy, which I love and will devour endlessly, selling at the O2 as a stand-up comic has got to be the easiest gig in show business. Every time I'm like packing up boxes of guitars and amplifiers and all that shit.
Yeah.
And like, imagine like there's 12,000 people and you turn up and you're just like, has someone got my microphone that you got? Yeah, all right. Yeah. And I got like one little bit of paper with a new joke on it and let's go to work.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, that job. I want that job. I don't want to, have to carry equipment and sound check and everything.
I just want like rocking up to Linebreaker's gig with all of our stuff and then Heather's there. It's like, I flew up with only carry on. Yeah. And I'm like, I love this for you, but I also wish that was me.
We used to laugh at the magicians because there was quite a lot of crossover, and there were very funny magicians like Paul. Anyway, but yeah, they would turn up with like a big pull-along suitcase full of all their gaffs and tricks and props and whatever else, and we'd just be like, if you were funnier.
So I do actually, speaking of luggage, I'm going to do a slightly odd thing in the next couple of weeks. I have a very big, basically I kill luggage, like the rate at which I can destroy luggage, because I have so much heavy stuff and I walk to train stations at both ends and things. And so I'm going to take my big Eastpak case into the local skate shop, and I am going to see if there's any way they can put a set of rollerblade wheels on it. Because the little trundly wheels that come with the suitcase, they're just not up to the job.
You were talking about this back in Stockholm.
They're roughly the right size. And I'm pretty sure with a bit of ingenuity, like you could get the rollerblade bearing mountings to fit the suitcase. And then I'd have like a super fast suitcase, like fastest. And then I could take it to the skate park in Crystal Palace and I could do suitcase tricks. on the
Imagine inventing a new sport. Yeah. What you then have to do is get on rollerblades at the airport and skate with your skate suitcase through the airport.
No. Because you can get essentially rollerblade wheels with the attachment to put on chairs. Yeah. Because if you have hardwood floors, the casters that chairs come with are really bad. But you can buy a 4 or 5 pack of essentially rollerblade wheels. Yeah.
Hannes has said Heelys. One of the first things I did with one of my first paychecks when I came out of university and got a job was buy a pair of Heelys. And I immediately pulled a muscle in my hamstrings.
Yeah.
Did the Heelys ever get worn again?
No. They're very good for like teenagers. I see them in Tesco's all the time, and they are having a whale of a time. But that's because
I am not a teenager, and I've had this verified today by an AI service. So definitely not a teenager's.
Yeah.
Like I need to verify your age. It pops up a box going, "Do you own Heelys?" You're like, "Yes." It goes, "Ha, no blue sky for you." You're like,
I went bouldering yesterday. It stood funny and hurt my leg.
So speaking of taking things into shops and getting them fixed, the bridge pickup on my lovely Court Space 5 is not responding at the moment. And I thought, I mean, it probably needs a new battery. So I'm kind of asking for a bit of wisdom. I know we've got Hannes in the chat as well, and he's a luthier, so he may know. But so it takes one 9-volt battery, but it has an active passive toggle. And the bridge pickup is not working even when I do the active passive toggle. And so I'm going to go and buy a new battery in a bit and stick it in there, because I don't know. It's possible that the bridge pickup's just gone and a wire's come loose, and I'm going to have to take the back off and get my soldering iron. But it's also possible that the battery is just too low, so it can only drive one of the pickups, and the active-passive toggle's not working, which I'm okay with if I've got battery. But yes, I'm very sad about that because it's literally 11 months old, but I got it second-hand, so it's not under warranty.
It's one of the habits I have, which sometimes drives people mad, is there is this sort of perception that new things are new and they must be perfect because they are new.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. You get it home from the shop, and the first thing you do is you fix all the shit that they got wrong in the factory.
Yeah.
Take this out, fix that, rewire that, figure out how the whole thing works, take this apart. My next job is I'm going to take apart a camera tripod and mod it because I don't like the gimbal action in it. It moves in too many directions. So I'm going to dismantle
action is
that.
a good. That would also be a band name, I think.
Yeah.
Gimbal action.
On Reddit on the r/base thing, and someone did one of those 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. What would you get? And I was thinking about the sort of under 1,000 thing, and I was like, I would get the green one of what I've already got because I like green nail varnish.
Yeah.
And it would just go really well. But yeah, that's how much I like my current base is if you gave me £1,000, I would just go and get the green one as well. And then I'd have two of the same. And then if both pickups went on one of them, then I would just have the other one.
My next guitar acquisition is going to be the Moore. Because Moore,
the one with the built-in effects.
Built-in effects, built-in wireless transmitter, built-in Bluetooth, built-in everything. Basically, you show up to the gig with a guitar, a receiver, which is just like a little tiny plug with an aerial sticking out the top of it, and a Bluetooth foot pedal, and no cables, no amp, no nothing.
Yes.
Actually wireless instead of the wireless that we've got.
Actually wireless, as opposed to needing a wire for the transmitter, a wire for the receiver, and a wire for the battery pack.
Yeah. Honestly, the only problem I see with that is that in 25 years, it'll just be a guitar.
Nah.
Because all the electronics will have decayed, or Moore will have stopped supplying firmware updates for your guitar.
I've got a Line 6 Pod XT, which is...
Yes, you have.
22, about 20, it's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
And the website where you could download all the tones from the library and upload them using the Java app is, of course, completely like ancient history, but it still works, like all of the onboard electronics. And so if you can get a JVM to run the editor, you can still make your own patches, but you can do everything because this is that kind of point in history where, you know, I've always found the intersection of particularly guitar music hardware as opposed to synthesizers. So guitars and computers for a long while was a really interesting overlap because guitarists were all broke and expected that if you were going to spend 200 quid on something, it had better last the rest of your natural life because they don't have that kind of money, as opposed to smartphone people who are like, 600 quid every 2 years is a perfectly reasonable way to acquire things and discard them. And they kind of got a little bit of both of those into one device. So all of the sort of the physical engineering of the thing, you can still do everything from the front panel using the knobs and the touch and the screen and the save buttons and everything. Whereas all the cloud gimmicks are completely dead. You know, that's not a thing anymore. But it still works and it still sounds good and I still use it. And so I'm
the practice headphones I got that I've mentioned on the show before, the Positive Grid Spark Neo. It was you mentioning the tone cloud thing. They have because they also the Spark range. They've got practice amps and all sorts of things, and they go up to quite big. I think they do like a 250 watt one, but they have the same electronics in all of them, and so I can actually download tones from their tone cloud, and I can have as many as I want on my phone, but I can push 4 of them onto the headphones themselves. And we're not talking about just like a single effect. You've got, it does compression and reverb and chorus, and you can octave and fuzz distortion drive, all those things. And it is sufficiently good that there is feedback on their support site going, can you make a version of this that I can connect into my pedal chain? Because the noise that I get through my headphones is better than the noise I can make my pedals make. and it would be really good if I could get exactly the same thing just going straight to front of house. But yeah, I literally this weekend just gone, Sunday, I think, somebody has uploaded a Chris Wolstenholme tone. And it is somewhere, it's like if you were doing a sort of Muse cover band and you were going to play Hysteria and Uprising and Time Is Running Out, it would just about do for all of them, because they are actually quite different, those. But it's certainly for sitting there and practicing, it's really good. Also, the new Muse, have you heard the new Muse single? I don't know if it's
I stopped listening to Muse when they tried to become a dubstep band.
Oh no, this is much more back to kind of proggy.
Oh, good
sort of stuff. It's excellent, but the bass line on it is just pure dirt. And I have to learn it. It is so dirty. Yeah, love it. I'm really, really hoping. So yes, Hannah says new Muse sounds like Vola. And I'm like, whatever Vola is, but yeah. Which is
Vola,
probably now horrified Hannah.
Danish kind of rock metal whatever-y band.
Is that the one where got one of them came and said happy birthday to David at
Copenhagen? Came to Copenhagen Developer Festival to give David Whitney a birthday present. Yes.
Is that the one where the drummer is like the best drummer alive?
No, because Ellis Stepario is probably the best drummer alive.
And that's only because Neil Peart is dead.
Yes. And before him, I would say it was probably, I mean, not sort of technically impressive or anything, but Dave Grohl in terms of creating drum.
Oh, it's Leprous with the best drummer. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I'm going to plug something. I'm going to plug the Azure Developer Summit.
Oh, go.
That's happening, and it's happening in October, and it's happening in Lisbon, and I'm going to be there, and it's going to be cool because it's basically so there used to be a thing called TechEd, which you may or may not remember. Microsoft would do this massive thing every year where they'd send over all the the engineers and the product managers who were building all of the Microsoft.NET stuff and the new SQL Server stuff and just all the stuff. And then they stopped doing that for a while because I don't know. And
a lot of it became build.
Yeah.
But build was much more developer focused. The thing with TechEd, it was developers and IT pros and kind of management stuff as well. Whereas build is very developer focused and also almost entirely pointless now that Microsoft do everything on GitHub.
Yeah, I mean, a big sort of part of it used to be that you could go along to these events and you could see stuff which nobody else knew about. And obviously with particularly .NET being all open source and very, very transparent. But it's still just nice going along and meeting and hearing from the people who actually do it. So David Fowler, Damian Edwards, Hanselman, Maddie Montequila, all these kinds of people are going to be there talking about stuff. And it's in Lisbon in October, which is great because October is just about the time when you're looking around at England going, nah. And then you're like, yeah, let's go to Portugal where it's nice. So, yeah, that's at AzureDevSummit.com. And they're doing the thing where they're asking all their speakers, hey, please share this on all your channels. Okay. And so
my proposed keynote for that, which is actually the talk that I did last night, the last I checked, it's still in evaluation. So I really need to email somebody and go, can you just confirm this so I can get my flights booked in and stuff? And
I'm not even at the point of looking at flight because I'm doing that and then I'm going from there to Porto because NDC Porto is going to be all workshops. So two days of CSS for engineers and then a whole day of how to build your own programming language and then half a day of how to make a ray tracer in JavaScript. So, and a new keynote. That should be fun.
Having done 2 days of workshop, I'm not sure I could do 3.5 days. That's a lot. I take my hat off to you. I doff my cap, in fact.
It's what I have learned over many years of doing this is if you've done it enough times that the material is all kind of, you've kicked the tires and you know it's going to work. You just work with the kind of scale of the group that you've got. And if you've got one person, you're like, right, we're basically going to pair program on anything you like for 2 days. And if you've got 3 or 4, you get a little mob going. And if there's like 10 of you, then you can be like, right, lots of exercises, break up into groups. If one person's like precociously fast, you make them your ad hoc teaching assistant for the day. And so they pick up some of the slack. Biggest I ever had, I had 42 people at a workshop I did in Oslo a couple of years ago, at which point it's just like, right, we're going to build a massively distributed client server system and you're all going to be nodes for the day.
Yeah.
And that worked really well, actually. That was a lot of fun. And it is
said Unraveling by Muse, by the way. That's the name of the song.
Okay.
So yeah, check it out. It is good.
I will.
Can I plug PyCon UK, which is happening the 19th to 23rd of September in Manchester?
Oh, I need to take this.
You got a job.
Get off my PyCon. How loud is that in our mics? I don't know. Can you hear that?
Pretty, yeah, you can hear it, but not overwhelmingly so.
Can you still hear them?
Just in the background.
Okay, cool. Anyway, PyCon
we
UK.
can all go really quiet and see if the mic picks up the other side of the call.
They took off their mic. Hello, I'm here twice. Yes, no, PyCon UK, I'm one of the organizers. It's going to be great. It's going to be in Manchester. It's going to be like 350 people, so quite small. But if you are a Python developer, or if you know people who are Python developers, it's always a really lovely event. And we want more people to come. And if you know anyone who wants to sponsor it, tell them to get in touch with me.
Give your money to the Python people. They're the good people, even if they have dubious ideas about code formatting. Can I sponsor PyCon by giving you braces? And semicolons to
I thought you meant like my teeth are all right. Actually.
You know what I mean. Punctuation, yes. Right. I think that about wraps it up for the week. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. We'll be back. I think we're back same time next week. I'm kind of at home, like for the whole of July and most of August. And
yeah, same.
Yeah, kind of nice.
We're about to get Rendle back, I think.
Yeah. Oh. Can we hear Rendle reading out passwords?
Yes. Secret squirrel with 3s for E's and an exclamation mark for the I. Capital S is all, the rest is all lowercase, no space.
That is extremely secret.
Yes.
So,
no, that is, this is the one where GitHub goes, you've checked in a password. And I'm like, yes, but it's my public password. It's the password I always use. Like when I'm doing authentication in a workshop or a talk or something, I just use secret squirrel and people go, oh, we can see you typing your password. And I'm kind of like, yep, that's obviously not my actual password for anything important.
I always use P.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the thing where you can't design bins in national parks in the States that bears can't get into because there's so much overlap between the smartest bear and the dumbest human.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like that. They can't assume that it's not your real password.
Yeah. No, and I mean I have seen people especially on phones when they're sort of showing their phone, because it shows the character. It might, it turns it into a dot, but it very briefly shows the character because obviously phone keyboards, it's much more likely you'll press the wrong one.
I once did, we're talking about workshops and things. I was running one of my distributed systems things with a group in Trondheim in Norway, and something that I have done 100 times flawlessly didn't work. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I'm like, oh, okay, why didn't it work? And the piece in question is building. So basically you build your web application so that if you run the app with a particular flag, what it'll do is it'll apply the EF migrations to your database and then disconnect. So you can, when the GitHub action has finished building the app, it can then use that app as a migration runner to update your database once the deployment has succeeded. And yeah, normally absolutely fine. But of course, you're talking about the fact that you don't put the passwords in code. You put those in GitHub secrets and then use the actions to get that. It didn't work, just nah. And we're like, all right, that's strange, and start going through and, logging and everything. And what had happened was that the randomly generated Azure SQL password had a $sign in it, which meant that a $sign in GitHub Actions indicates variable interpolation. But also GitHub Actions will never log a secret. If it sees anything in the log which matches the value of the secret, it obfuscates it. So there was no way of seeing that it was mangling it.
Yeah.
And what I had to do eventually is we modified the app to log its own password backwards. And when
Yeah.
it did that, GitHub didn't filter it because it's like, well, that's not one of our secret passwords. And then it's like, bang, there it is. There's a $sign in the password.
Yeah.
And,
Brilliant.
Sorry, one more thing on sort of workshops. You were saying once you've got the workshop and
Yeah.
you've done it a few times, you get to the point where you can sort of do it with one hand tied behind your back and half asleep. But my workshop, highperformance.net, and regularly every November, Microsoft make me rewrite that workshop.
Yep.
Because and it's getting more and more difficult to find a way of this. This sounds like a sort of fanboy plug for .NET, but it really is getting difficult because they've just built stuff in. And my favorite one, I think it was Porto last year, was or it might have been London this year. But in .NET 9, they added so many optimizations to link.
Yep.
And so, because one of my things was, if you are worried about performance, don't use link. It's okay to use for each with an array or a span because the code actually lowers into a for loop. But link is bad. And so I ran the benchmark that I had run hundreds of times before of adding an array of summing an array of 10,000 integers, once using a for loop and once using .sum. And using the for loop was a much quicker way of doing it. And then suddenly, .sum was not only as fast, it was 8 times faster. And so I'm kind of like, all right, well, let's go in and look at the source code and find out why that's 8 times faster. They basically switched it to use the AVX 512 instruction set. And so it sums them, using that, you can do however many integers that is at a time. And so what you end up with is a vector of 8 integers.
Yep.
And then you just sum those together, and that's the sum of the list. And I after that workshop, I went and I spent some time browsing through the link source code, and everything with numerics is now just way more optimized than a sane person would bother doing on a kind of app by app basis. But when it comes to built into the framework, it's like the sorting algorithms and stuff. People go, oh, can you implement quick sort on a whiteboard? No, why would I need to? I call .sort. And it doesn't just do quick sort. It actually chooses the one that's best for the size of whatever. But yes, they've now done that with all sum and average and min and max and all those things. And yeah, it is it's frustrating. And but then I think we actually spent 2 hours analyzing the code, and I was explaining the SIMD instructions and so forth. And so the next time I did the workshop, that was what I did instead. I'm not going to show you how to write SIMD code. I'm going to show you where there is some of the best SIMD examples you will ever see. And it's also like when you do index of for a char in a string or for a byte in a UTF-8 string, and it's doing like 16 bytes at a time and going, do any of these equal null or new line or whatever, and it's just chopping through stuff at insanely high speed. So yes, on the one hand, thanks Microsoft making life easier, and probably also carbon footprint and everything. But on the other hand, I'm really running out of stuff to teach people.
There will always be new stuff to teach people.
Well, that's true.
I mean, from the sound of it, it sounds like there's going to be a good market in how file systems work.
Yes.
But what is a folder?
Yes.
So
that's dear.
Yep.
Right, let's wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in, folks. We will be back same time next week, I think.
Yeah.
Until then, you all have a good week out there. You look after each other. Use AI responsibly, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, I've been Eli Holderness, and Eli has been nameless.
The fair folk can't take me. Don't have a name.